Get all the splinters. What's up, guys? We're here. Welcome back to the channel. So today I'm bringing you an updated gemling stacker build guide just to kind of give you my final endgame version, or pretty much the endgame version. I'm only missing one item from the actual build itself, but I'll talk about that once we get into the passive tree. So welcome back, guys. This is the final update that I can make to this build. I'm just missing one armor piece upgrade as far as a stat line, and then one gem piece. But besides that, the build isn't going to change at all for anything else. So I wanted to bring you this guide and just kind of go over things. Everything is updated in the description down below. But for anyone who does know, we survived the nerfs, or excuse me, the dev update. Big shout out to the devs, and I know stuff is coming. And I don't know if Stacker is going to be nerfed, but in the meantime, it's not. So we survived for now. So I'm pretty excited about that. So let's go over everything you guys need to know to how to play this build and just farm out incredible currency, destroy all the bosses, and just have a really fun time playing this spin to win build. So if you guys have been following along from my previous videos, there's been some gear changes which will be reflected down in the planner, so I just want to highlight that. But let's go over everything, right? So of course we got the Black Sun Crest. We're going to be this just gives us some stat increases, which is pretty huge here. And we're doing soul cores with the plus elements to help cap our resistances, as you guys can see here. Next, we got Pillar of the Cage God Longstaff, which this is the staff that we scale all of our damage from. We got plus 2% area of effect per 5 intelligence, 2% attack speed per 5 dex, and 10% increased weapon damage per 5 strength. You guys can see my stat rolls over here. We're at about 600 intelligence, 375 dex, and 300 strength, which is fantastic. This build scales very, very well with the Hands of Wisdom in action to get some flat damage and some more attack speed, which is fantastic. And I was lucky enough to get the corruption for the 2 slots. I still don't even know what to put in here yet. I'm thinking of chaos, just to have some chaos res. But yeah, then we got the chest piece, guys, the Mirror Invictus. These still go for a pretty penny. Now, I have highlighted down in the planner to make sure you get the increased attributes per socketed rune. That is the main stat that you want. The next most important stat would be increased resistance per socketed rune or soul core. But to get that combination, you're looking at a lot of currency, a lot of divs. So instead, I opted to get rarity instead, just to have some more rarity. Fine, I think I'm sitting at about 80%, and it has made my currency gains really, really well. Soul cores in here for now, unless you have the chest piece that automatically has the 10%. So soul cores, so that way you get the 20% all res. That really helps you out. Next is our amulet here. We're going gold amulet just for some more rarity, but you can change that. It can be anything else you want it to be. With energy shield, maximum mana, very important. And then on this one, we want all attributes, strength, and intelligence. Very, very important. We anointed Essence of the Mountain to gain extra damage as cold and 20% freeze buildup. This is really what's going to help us explode even more. That you guys see all the explosions happen. But if you can do it without this, then that's fine. You can go back to blurred or do something else. Our ring, we got the Warlug breach ring. I'm not running 2 breach rings anymore. I'm only running 1 because of the gear changes. So that way we could get close as we can to 600 intelligence was really my goal. So this ring stayed the same with the strength and dex here, and then the plus 16 to all elemental resistances with maximum mana. Those are the most important things. The fire damage on here is also really, really good. We used the attribute active catalyst here for attribute increase on both of our rings. So make sure you use those to increase the attributes on here. Next is our first swap. So we swapped off of our old breach ring into a prismatic ring, not only to make sure that we cap our reses, but this is where we can kind of change some stuff up. So I went dexterity, intelligence here. I do have another one that gives me a little bit more intelligence, but for now, this one's probably the best that I could craft and come up with. So maximum mana, dexterity, and all res. And this is where we're going to get a little finicky with our resistances. So on here, instead of an all res, we're going with almost 40% fire res, so that way we can cap. And the extra 10% implicit on the prismatic is really what helps us cap, so that way we can get more stats. Next is the belt change. So on my previous belt, I didn't have any mana whatsoever. So I only got 63 here, which is fine. I definitely want it to be over 100 because we are passive treed into mind over matter, so all of our damage is going to be taken from mana first. So you want to have as much mana on every single gear piece as you can get. With that said, we added the 33 strength, so we added intelligence to this ring and took strength out and put it into our belt. And then we just did fire and cold res. You can get really, really high rolls here. Now, the main reason that we did this is it's actually pretty cheap, because when you go into the trade site, getting stuff that has 2 resistances instead of 3 is significantly cheaper than it is getting 3 reses on a gear piece. And not only that, we can get 2 reses at a much higher roll than like 20-25%. So this does really, like, not only is it cost effective, but it makes me cap a little bit easier. Then we swapped out our boots. We wanted 30% move speed on here. Now, I do get a question about this all the time. Move speed does not reflect how fast we move with Tempest Flurry. It does not matter. The move speed is only after we're not Tempest Flurrying, so I still want it to be fast. Then we got only 50 mana, so again, I want that to be higher, max life. Then we got intelligence roll here. Then we got 2 high rolls on cold and lightning res. These boots are perfect. I would just like the maximum mana to be a much higher roll. I would like it to be 100 and something instead. But for what I got these for, it's really, really cheap. So I decided to go with this, with the soul core, to make sure we get the res cap. Now next, I will say this, there is a change on the gear piece that we do want to do. I have this wicker tiara. So the reason we have this wicker tiara is not only more intelligence, we got the reses, but most importantly, just some increased rarity. So with this helmet, I think I go to about 80%. Yeah, I'm at 80% rarity. If we swap this off, I'm only at 59%. So I wanted to do this while I'm mapping. While I'm mapping, it's completely fine. I don't, like, my reses are still capped, and I don't lose anything here. I do lose some stats here, so I do lose just a tad bit of damage, because I lose about, 26 strength, so it's a little bit of damage. But for mapping, it's completely fine. All the bosses on maps is completely fine. Like, even in this map, we're doing a T16 corrupted with some good modifiers here in rarity, so it's not a big deal whatsoever. But I do have this piece here if you guys want to screenshot and use something like this for your rarity grinds. You don't need to go any higher than 100%, but this is really, really fun. Okay, next into the passive tree changes, because we did change a lot here, and I think it's actually a lot better. So we still have our path down here. We're doing dex in the first 5. Then we're doing strength in the next 2. And then I believe everything else is intelligence. And then we have these 4 here for strength, just to balance things out. You can probably adjust these anymore, but I liked my numbers where they are. So if you guys do want to copy that, that's fine. But after this initial change here, so these 4 strength, these 2 strength, and then these 5 dex, everything else as far as your +5s should all be intelligence. Now, the next big thing that we did invest in was the time against the darkness time lost diamond. So we got resistances here. Now, with doing this kind of gear setup, you are going to be short in your resistances. It's just going to happen unless you have the chest piece with the natural modifier. So getting a time lost diamond like this, where it's +3 res and +1 maximum cold. So if I take this out, you can see that my res is dropping. Then if I'm wearing my helmet, then they're dropped even more, right? Like, these are capped, but then my lightning res is a problem. So the time loss gives 3% to each small passive. So each of these is 3%. So when we put this back in, we did it so we're capped anyway. If you guys are going to use a helmet like this wicker during your mapping, I highly suggest putting in your Black Sun crest, and that way you're using a gem like this with everything to make sure you cap this way, because then whatever you have on your helmet, you will still be capped. So just make sure you do that. But this timeless jewel is fantastic. In the highest event of cases, if that change to maximum cold res was like strength or like dexterity or intelligence, then that would be better. It's just so hard to find one because they haven't updated the trade site to be able to search for that stuff. But this really, really works. This was like a div, maybe less. You can get it for, like 80, 90 exalts. So it's not too bad when you're getting just resistances. We still got lightning rod for the lucky. We're still rocking falcon dive. Now here's where we changed. We used to be straight up this way, but I wanted to go this way because I needed more elemental damage just to do some more damage, because now I think my base is 130,000 on my Tempest Flurry. So we're still keeping Falcon Technique for the attack speed, But I wanted to go this way for more elemental damage, which will help proc our double herald technique for all the explosions. But more importantly, coming back over here and retaking proficiency with the dexterity, I want to show you guys something. Like, that's how we got our dexterity so high. If you take this 8 dex, and 25 dex, it is an insane amount of increased dexterity from here. So definitely take this. It really increases your dexterity and your attack speed on the build, and moving around is much easier. Next, we do have some mana regeneration here, along with some 15% reduced mana cost while not on low mana. So low mana is anything below 35% of your mana. So this really helps with our mana regen and just staying, high enough. So that way, if we do take any damage, we can sustain the cost. Because my Tempest Flurry is only 19 mana. I never run low on mana. Of course, we come over here. We're still doing martial artistry for more damage. But another big reason of coming this way is we're getting extra jewel slots. So we're getting 1 extra jewel slot and then 2 extra jewel slots here. And then we're coming up. I really wanted to keep charge staff. Charge staff is just really, really nice in this build still with combat frenzy. So we do the resonance combo with resonance and combat frenzy. If you don't know how that combo works, combat frenzy gives us a frenzy charge when we freeze, electrocute, or pin. And then resonance turns the power charges and frenzy charges into power charges. So that way we can actually do our charge staff, which is pretty awesome. So we opted this way. If you don't care about charge staff, then you do save some points here. Like, you could probably save the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. Just keep the jewel socket. And then you could probably just go 1, 2 and connect this and save some points. Because you would actually save 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points. And then you put 2 here. So you actually have plus 6 points to add in. But that's totally up to you. I like charge staff. It makes it cooler for clearing, and boss killing is just much easier. Of course, we got Wildstorm for more damage. Then we come all the way back up. This stuff is the same, guys. We got the intelligence roll here. We got pure power for more damage. And then we come all the way over for mind over matter. We are no longer taking the nodes in here for mana regen as well as Eldritch Battery. I only have 436 actual shield, which probably doesn't contribute to a lot of mana here. But again, if you don't want to run resonance, then you could probably go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and put the points into here and be just fine. We did add 1 Whispers of Doom, so we can apply an additional curse, because now we're going to go ahead and transition into our skills. Hand of Doom Whispers of Doom allows us to apply 2 curses with Hand of Chalupa. So we got conductivity, and then we're also doing enfeeble. So we're basically we're giving them minus lightning res, and then we're also giving them less damage that they can do to us, which is pretty sweet. We got that with Voltalic Mark, as well as Heightened Curse for just in support increases. Now, if you want to do all of the Eldritch Battery stuff, then you take the Resonance stuff out, you lose the Whispers of Doom, and you remove Enfeeble. And then you can come in here and just take these nodes all the way up to Eldritch Battery if you want. It's totally up to you. Then we got Charge Staff here. We're doing Charge Staff with Persistence, Electrocute, and Perpetual Charge to not consume. Comboing with Combat Frenzy, we got Profusion to get an additional charge, as well as Clarity for more mana regen. Now, Mana Remnants we'll talk about in just a second, but of course we got our Double Herald set up. From our previous video, we only had 3 supports, and now we're up to 4. We're kind of maxing out the build a little bit. So in Herald of Ice does not freeze, and Herald of Thunder does not shock. So we had to swap these. This combo is absolutely insane for the campaign or mapping or whatever that you want to do. As you guys saw in the beginning of the video, it's insane for Breach. So on Herald of Ice, we have magnified effects, so it's bigger AoE explosions, Lightning Pen, a Lightning Infusion for more damage, as well as Innervate for even more damage when we actually killing a shocked enemy. On Herald, same thing. We're doing Ice Bite for cold, Glaciation for freeze buildup, as well as Cold Infusion for more damage, as well as Cold Penetration. So between these two, we're penning lightning and cold damage a lot. Now, we do have Tempest Bell. Tempest Bell, we're doing Overabundance, Close Combat, Concentrated Effect, as well as Execute. This is just very strong against bosses. I do want to lose Stormwave and go into a 2 bell setup, but I may just take Remnants out and just add the second bell so it's just on my bar, and add Remnants in when we do bosses, which I'll talk about in just a second. On Stormwave, I still really do like this ability. Like, it's just really nice for good AoE here. I just really enjoy it if you're not going to do Tempest Flurry, like just Tempest Flurry all the time. Sometimes you get caught up and you can just do this. It's just much better. So all I have in here is Upheaval because I'm not running double gems. Right now I'm doing all the increased quality in my Ascendancy. But if I was doing the one, now again in your Ascendancy, you can do either one. So in your Ascendancy, you can either do the increased quality, which is nice, or you can come up here and take 2 copies of support gems. I like the advanced here because it gives us 30% less cost of skills, which just makes Tempest Flurry, my curses, and my bell just cost so much cheaper, right? So I just like that better. So if I was going to run the double gems, though, you put Martial Tempo in here as well as Primal, and then you also do Inspiration, probably, or you could do like Concentrated Effect just to give it more damage, or something like that. It's totally up to you. A Stormwave just with Upheaval still deals a crap ton of damage, so it's not a big deal. And then on to our main damage dealer, Tempest Flurry. We got Martial Tempo, Crescendo, Primal for more damage, Rage for more damage, as well as Inspiration. So this gives us a big, huge cost, like less cost, which is fantastic. Tempest Flurry's absolutely insane. So yeah, guys, make sure that you quality and level your gems up to the highest possible that they can be. So look, I gotta have level 19s with 20 quality. This is going to give you a huge damage increase on all of your stuff. So make sure that you guys do that. Now, outside of that, guys, that is pretty much the build. It is absolutely fantastic. The build is super, super fun. I absolutely destroy everything. Now, as far as the additional piece that I would like to add in besides the chest piece increase, which is going to cost me a lot of currency, the last thing that we can change is just we can get a gem here. The gem is called, let me just make sure this is right. I have the note here. It is Controlled Metamorphosis. And to get a, like, what is it, like massive ring, it'll cost about 4 or 5 divs to get. But essentially what we do is inside here we put the Controlled Metamorphosis gem, and it allows us to grab Pure Power, Lightning Quick, as well as Drench. Drench is going to give us increased shock, but gain 5% of lightning damage, which is a lot, as extra cold. And then we also get Lightning Quick, which is going to give us increased damage and attack speed. And then we keep Pure Power. Now, we are going to remove the 5 points here, which is fine. And this is where you could probably go into Ether Flow if you want, into Eldritch Battery. Or we could come in and take Heavy Frost to ignore resistances, which is fantastic. Or we can add in more sockets. Like we could grab this one for a more socket. We can come down here and grab 2 points here to this jewel socket just for some more damage. Now, the last thing for the build, guys, is the other jewels. We still are rocking the Adorned. It's very low. So I think I'm going to swap this out for some normal jewels. So the normal jewels that you really want to be looking for are going to be like this one, where you have increased energy shield, increased freeze buildup, elemental damage. We also grab something like this for increased elemental damage, for just more damage. We also have increased freeze buildup, faster recharge. We're also going to have our old ones here for attack speeds with our quarterstaffs and damage against rares or uniques. And then the Corrupted Blood one here is still good. And then we also have, very important, recover 2% of life on kill. Very important with elemental damage. And then over here, you definitely want at least one recover 2% of mana on kill. Now, I do have a regular one over here, which gives me another 1%, I believe. So I recover 3% of mana on kill, which is just fine. So make sure you at least get a 2 and 2, so that way you can just kind of sustain stuff just for when you're killing, or more importantly, when you get hit and you lose mana, if you just kill a monster really quickly, your mana will jump right back up. So we're trying to get to 4,000 mana. I just need to improve some gear pieces a little bit some more, but besides that, we're looking really good on this build, guys, and it's been an absolute blast. So again, the link will be down in the description below, guys. Make sure to go check all that stuff out, and like and comment if you guys have any questions about the build. I'll be sure to answer them to the best I can. This build is the absolute best for Breach or doing any other forms of content. So really enjoy it while we have it. And yeah, guys, don't forget to subscribe as always. Stay gaming, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.